Hey team, today we're gonna make some tomato sauce. Um, Unlike other videos, you see that we're right on the cutting board before we get started. One thing that is really important is once you have your mise en place ready, I have for my tomato sauce I have my onions, my garlic, my basil stems, which I pick through them. If you see any brown spots, just take them away. And I have my basil puree, which is the container with the green stuff, right? And my spoon, and my immersion blender. But then I have a bowl here with with my tomato product. Now these are whole tomatoes, and we need to make sure that we crush them a little bit before we use them and we put them in this sauce. So before you start the sauce, while you're doing your mise en place, make sure you take your tomatoes out of your container and have a bowl where you can put your tomatoes in there. And notice that I put my hand in there because they're whole tomatoes, okay? So you're gonna have these guys right in here, and I just like putting my hands in here, and I try to be really careful so I don't make a giant mess, but I tear them apart. And this will help you when you're making your sauce, and it'll help them break apart. And in the long run, they're gonna break apart anyway. So you don't want to put them in the board and then make a mess on your with all of the rest of your mise en place. But it's important for you to actually break them apart so we give them a better chance to cook much better. Okay, so just go through them and put your hand in there and just kind of tear them up. Some people put their hand in there and just squish them, but then when you squish them, they end up in your shirt or in your chef coat or all over your kitchen wall. And we just want to make sure that they're into pieces in here. Okay, so this is gonna be the first part of the video. I'm just breaking down the tomatoes before we finish our mise en place. That way you can clean your hands and not have a mess. And then just kind of go through them and make sure you don't leave whole ones behind. Sometimes there's little ones that try to sneak in while you're trying to do this, okay? So the goal is that we have kind of random pieces like this instead of having a big old tomato right there. Okay, make sure that you hold them as you're dumping them out so they don't splash all over the place. Alright, see you in a little bit. Hey team, let's get ready to make some tomato sauce. I got my pot heating up here. Basically, this is another mother sauce. It's probably one of the easiest mother sauces to make. I deviate a little bit from the recipe, so let's talk about the ingredients here real quick. I have my tomatoes. Alright team, let's make some tomato sauce. I have all my ingredients from earlier right here. My tomatoes, my onions, my garlic. I got my basil stems, my basil, and my olive oil. I deviate a little bit from the recipe, so just follow through carefully so you see where we're going. Okay, and I'm deviating from the recipe a little bit, because of what we had to do with the basil, which we pureed it for you guys, just because we purchased it and we didn't think it was gonna last longer, which is a great way to preserve basil, to just puree with olive oil, and you should be good to go. Okay. First steps, we're gonna put some olive oil in the pan. And I'm putting a good amount in here. I want the garlic to be able to dance in there without sticking to the pan too much. So if you guys look, I have about 2 ounces, 2.5 ounces in there, and I'm gonna place my onions in there. I'm going to start cooking these onions, and when they're about halfway, I'll introduce the garlic. Okay. This sauce probably has to the most used is when you look at the mother sauces, because you can use a little bit of tomato sauce in a lot of different styles of cooking, not necessarily just classical French or European, but all over the world. Right. Getting ready here. My onions are going. And I want my onions, I don't want them to brown, I just want them to just slightly wilt. And once they get there, we'll start adding the garlic, okay? Alright, that's pretty good right there. I see my onions are translucent, the oil is happy, dancing, and now I'm going to take my sliced garlic and put it in here. When you slice your garlic, just try to make sure that you slice it as thin as you can. Okay, I put a little bit more garlic than what the recipe actually asks for, and I just like it. I'm going to eat this sauce. We usually don't make this tomato sauce in my house because my wife's allergic to tomatoes, but this one I'll eat. Now, I added the garlic in here. Notice that I'm not stopping moving it. I just want to keep it moving so it doesn't burn. Okay, garlic can burn fairly easy. So we're gonna go and continue moving this until it's ready. You'll know that it's ready. Number one, you start smelling the garlic quite a bit. It's quite perfumey, but we don't want to wait until it gets any color. If we wait until it gets some color, we might go over where we need to go. Most likely you're over when you brown like that, and then it'll just become bitter and you'll never be able to get rid of that flavor in there, okay? But know that it's gonna cook for about an hour, so we should be pretty good here, okay? Alright, so that's smelling really good. At this point, I'm going to take all my basil stems that I sent to you. I'm going to put them in there. And then I'm going to take my tomato product and I'm going to pour it in here. Make sure you get all the goodies. And in this sauce, I like starting to season fairly early. So I'm going to take some salt and put it in here, and that should help break down the tomatoes, okay? Now we're just gonna bring the sauce to a simmer, and once it's at a simmer, I'm gonna put it to the side, and it's gonna cook for 40-45 minutes, and then I'll show you after 45 minutes what it looks like, and then we'll give it a little bit of a puree with the immersion blender. We'll season it again and add our basil, and then we should be good. Hey team, so our tomato sauce right here has cooked about 45 minutes. Things that will let you know that the sauce is good. You see that a lot of the oils have come to the top. Mine is just slowly simmering. If yours is a little bit heavier simmering, you might not have that, but my sauce has reduced quite a bit. I'm almost to the solids, which is a good thing. If I can start seeing solids on the top, that tells me that my sauce is being reduced enough, right? And then I tasted it, and it tastes pretty strong, right? So it should be pretty good. Our next step here is taking the basil stems out. The basil stems have done their job. The goal, or why we put them in here, was to get their flavor as much as possible, but we're not going to blend them, right? Because they'll get in the way of the immersion blender, and they're kind of stringy, so we don't leave them in there, okay? So I just pull them off, and you can see Well, hopefully you can see when I move my sauce. Now I can see a lot more of my solids in there. Okay, I'm gonna move this to the side. Our job now is gonna be to add our basil. So I have my basil puree right here, and I'm not gonna add it all at the same time. I'm just gonna add a little bit, like about half of it, and then I'm gonna mix it in, right? And then this will give me a good idea once I taste it here shortly. It'll give you a good indication if you have enough basil or not, right? Like basil, you want it to be kind of the backup singer. You don't want it to be like too much in your face, right? It should be part of the equation, but not the whole thing. It's good, and I can taste it, which means that it's probably enough, okay? We can always add more later, okay? At this point, all we have left is seasoning the sauce and pureeing it, okay? A couple of things that I want you to do, one of them being not on the recipe. I got about a tablespoon and a half of balsamic vinegar right here that I took from my steak sauce recipe kit, and I'm just gonna pour about 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar in here, okay? Yep, that's about right. And then I just tasted it, so I know it's gonna need a little salt. So I'm gonna go with the salt one more time, okay? And then I'm gonna season it with a little pepper. And then I'm also going to add a pinch of sugar. And that's just to balance out the acidity, okay? And just mix it really good. And you'll notice that the balsamic will make your sauce look a little bit darker, and that's good because you're gonna puree it here soon. It's not gonna stay brown like that. It's gonna be nice and red. And then what I'm looking for here, it's not that the sauce just tastes good, but it tastes good. I taste the tomatoes, I taste the salt, I taste the basil, and I taste a little bit of acidity from the balsamic, but then it doesn't end acid. It dies down. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now I'm gonna add the rest of the basil because that seasoning hit the basil, so I know I need more. So I'm just gonna add the rest of it. I think it should be good. You all have different quantities of basil because I just put a spoonful into each container, so make sure that you do a little bit, taste it, and then add more as needed, okay? They're all about the same, but you never know, so it's better to check, okay? Now the only thing that we have left is pureeing this sauce. How much do you puree it? Depends on how pureed you like it, right? Your chunks of tomato should be fairly broken down now. Like, I don't have anything too big, so we have the liberty to either puree it till smooth or leave it a little bit chunky. I like it about halfway, so, and I always start on low. I have my immersion blender here, and I push down, and I'm kind of just pulsing it, push down, and then wait till it stops and then move it. If you lift it while it's still going, it's gonna make a mess in your kitchen, okay? And then I'm gonna go around one more time just in case I have big chunks, but that's pretty good right now, okay? And the goal, or at least what I like for my sauce, is that it's chunky, okay, but I don't have pieces that are really big. I just have pieces that are like add the large dice, right? Like, but I don't have anything too big in here. If you like super smooth sauce, go at it. Blend it till it's super smooth. I like it like this just because I know what I'm gonna use it for. Now, in some occasions, when you're at a restaurant or wherever you work, if you have to make this, you might have to either leave it chunky or make it smooth depending on what you're doing, right? And in some cases, you will puree the tomatoes before they come in here, and usually that happens if it's gonna be a chunky sauce that you want the nice dice to show. Okay, I'm gonna turn this guy down. If you want the nice dice to show, and like you're making a complete sauce where you're adding onion and mushroom and carrot, and you know, that's fine. But that's not this sauce. This is a main sauce. So you would actually make this puree it smooth, cook your vegetables, and then cook them in the sauce. All right, this is tomato sauce for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Spaghetti, lasagna. If you make it smooth, you can make it pizza. It's up to you. You can save it into smaller baggies and add it into braiseds and stews and that kind of thing. You can do that as well. This is not just Italian. It's actually not Italian. Most Italian sauces are a little bit plain, which is what I like. But for this sauce, this is really good right here. All right, enjoy.